Okay, folks, welcome back. This is Pappy. We're in another room at the Gaston County, Dallas, North Carolina. This is the old Cotton Ginning Days, now called the Heritage and Harvest Festival. This is 2022. And we have a kitchen here that's a period kitchen from when, ma'am?
It was built it would have been in the early 1900s.
Early 1900s. I'm going to let her go ahead and take over.
Hi, how are you doing? This would have been our wood stove. It is a wood stove that it has, you put your wood in here and then the ashes would fall down. And this is how you would cook. Today I am cooking and I have got sweet potatoes in the oven. And we've got some mustard greens cooking and some applesauce and some country ham. And we are heating the wood stove with a little bit of pine and a little bit of oak. It's kind of tricky. Sometimes we cook biscuits in the oven. We also have here today, we have some shelly beans that my kids have been coming and they've been, I don't know where all the beans went, but they've been shelling beans. And we've got some black-eyed peas and we've got some black beans that we have shelled for the kids. Back in the days when this would have been, you would have taken your meat and done a lot of cooking with the meat in the winter time, and you would have used all the dried beans to supplement it, and then in the summer you would have done a lot of the mustard greens and the green beans and all the vegetables and that type of thing, because that was what was available.
There was no going to Food Lion and buying fresh tomatoes every day out of the year.
There was not, and over here a little ways we have some butter churns. We've got a glass one right here. We do not have the paddle for it, but this is a really neat old butter churn. If you look at it, can you see it? Am I far enough away? And we have some others. It would have had a paddle in it that would have gone up and down, and we would have made butter. And we have an ice box over here in the corner. You would have put ice on the top shelf and it would have melted down. There's a pan underneath it to drip in. And on this side you would have put your food, and this is where the ice would have gone. You also would have been able to keep a few perishables in there, and if you didn't have an ice box you would have had a spring house that you would have kept things in. Their metal containers or whatever you would have stored them in. It would have sat down in the water in the spring house. A lot of times spring houses would have the water running through it, and it would keep the whole small house cool. There's another out on the front porch. We have a round container that looks kind of like a barrel that has some metal bars at the top, and you would have dropped that down into your well with a rope. It would not have gone down in the water. It would have sat above the water, and you could have put butter and milk and any type of perishables there. And that's pretty much the three ways that you would have kept things that needed to be kept cool so they wouldn't spoil. Otherwise, you cooked it that day, you ate it that day. And they didn't throw anything away. Usually if you lived out on a farm, you would have had pigs and different animals, chickens. And so like if you were cooking with potatoes or apples, all the peels and stuff, if you didn't cook it, you fed them to your animals. That was the food that you gave them.
So slopping the hogs was dishwater and any of the scraps left over from meals.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah, I guess there was no regular feed stores that were on every corner or Tractor Supply. Maybe a feed store could have been found.
Well, we would have had a feed store. You would have had your general store, and they would have had some. And we do have one here that you can probably videotape in later. You had a feed store. They would have had flour. Sometimes you could get rice and beans and stuff like that in bulk, but more often you would have gotten tools and things like that so that you could do the things that you needed to do. And the cloth that you would have gotten a lot of times would have come from those same stores, because you would get your flour in it, and the flour sacks and the different stuff would be attractive fabrics and stuff. They tried to be, because that's what you would have used to make your clothes out of.
Oh yeah, you had to sew all your own clothes.
Mm-hmm. And as you walk through outside, we've got a clothesline out there with the washer out there, the wringer. You would have washed your clothes on a big bin, and this is what a washboard looks like. It would have been in a wash tub. This is your washboard. It's rough, and you would have used some soap and washed your clothes on this. And if you walk through outside, there is another big wash tub with a wringer on it with a handle that you would have wrung it through to get the water out. And there's clothespins out there with some clothes hanging. And clothespins back then were not like the ones we have today where you pinch them. They were shaped like a big loop, like a big prong, and you just slid them over the rope to hang on because they didn't have the metal to make it pinch, because everything you had that came from stuff around the farms and things that you had to make.
That's really how people were very thrifty. They reused and repurposed,
Everything.
shall we say, everything.
Everything was reused and repurposed.
Well, I thank you ever so much.
You're quite welcome.
And for the general store, the older viewers might remember, not Fowler, Harper's Ferry.
Yes.
That general store that we had filmed, that would be the kind of store that you would find here. Only the general store that's at Crowder's Mountain, I think just the fascia is still there. I'll include a couple of shots of that. They'll be stills, so don't expect a whole lot, folks.
Thank you
But
so
we
much.
thank you ever so much, and God bless and take care.
Thank you.